Okay, I welcome you all for one of the last webinar session of this financial year on a very interesting topic, fire survival cables. I am sure all the delegates, who have joined here are aware of the product and the need. But it is at FSI, it is our duty and it is our mission to share the knowledge about latest products, latest norms related to fire and life safety. So once again, welcome all. I'm sure you will, get a lot of takeaways from this webinar, the product presentation, and the panel discussion later on. We have eminent panelists. We from consultants fraternity, from manufacturing fraternity. And I think we have a couple of videos to show about the product. To all panelists, I would request, to ask the questions quite, freely. You can put in your questions in the chat box. I have read one saying, before you assume anything, try this crazy method called asking. So please ask a lot of questions. I think Harsha, you can share the next slide. So we'll start the webinar with the product presentation. The product presentation will be delivered by Mr. Bharat Sehgal, who's working with Polycab, Senior General Manager, Technical. Mr. Bharat has a very vast experience of 25 years, with the design and development of cables. And I think his presentation is going to be, purely technical on this subject. So Mr. Bharat, welcome. Maybe you can share your screen and start the presentation.
Thank you so much, sir.
Fire is a serious hazard that leads to loss of life and property. The majority of the time in residential or commercial establishments, indoor fire events can be attributed to heating equipment overusage, power circuit failure, careless acts, and human error. The current fire protection measures in buildings do not account for all contemporary fire hazard issues, which has made fire safety a growing concern. Cables are the veins in any modern construction and are connected to every corner of the building, which is potential fire spreader. Most of the loss of life happens due to inhalation of toxic fumes in an indoor fire event. It becomes critical to minimize these and allow for the precious time to escape. A fire survival cable is therefore the need of the hour in critical installations and prominent places as a fire safety and mitigation measure. Presenting the IGNIS cables from Polycab. Polycab IGNIS is low fire hazard and fire resistance cable. It is dual powered, providing max safety and integrity. Polycab IGNIS has high fire resistance, low flame propagation, maintains circuit integrity when exposed to fire, has low toxicity, and the fire barrier protects from electrical short circuits. The Polycab IGNIS are manufactured using cutting-edge machinery in a state-of-the-art facility and are extremely safe for human life. The wires are made using continuous vulcanization and infrared curing process. The Polycab IGNIS has composite insulation layers, which gives more protection during a fire. The insulation layer is of high-temperature glass mica tape of Musco white type, having excellent heat resistance as well as insulation resistance. The Polycab IGNIS has zero halogen compound in the sheathing. The insulation layer over the mica flame barrier has additional heat resistance. During a high fire situation, the insulation becomes char and acts as an insulant. The materials used have a higher oxygen index, making them hard to burn. The Polycab IGNIS lowers the smoke opacity and gas emissions, prevents flame from spreading, and reduces heat release, making it a low fire hazard. By doing this, it reduces the possibility of deaths due to suffocation. Polycab IGNIS complies with various specifications described under the time temperature curve for the standard fire endurance tests, meeting the standards specified by BS and IEC. It can maintain the power circuit integrity and keeps it running for a minimum of up to 3 hours at a maximum temperature of 950 degrees Celsius, making it high fire resistant. Polycab IGNIS is a must for critical applications like fire alarm systems, sprinklers, emergency lighting, elevators, and P&A systems. This keeps the building operational during a fire event, allowing for precious time for people to evacuate. The Polycab IGNIS is a result of years of rigorous R&D and therefore is extremely reliable. Polycab IGNIS is certified by the Loss Prevention Certification Board, Lpcb. Lpcb certification is the best product certification available internationally. The Polycab IGNIS, your reliable partner for fire safety, is manufactured by Polycab India Ltd. Polycab India Ltd is a leading electricals brand, largest manufacturer of wires and cables in India, and one of the fastest growing players in the FMEG space. With a pan-India distribution network, we cater to various public and private institutions across a diverse set of industries, as well as retail customers through its B2C business. Polycab IGNIS, the ultimate guardian.
I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, yes, sir.
Yes, yes.
So thank you so much, first of all, Umeshi and other panelists and audiences also. First of all, I just want to tell you the time span is very short. It's a very vast topic like ocean. It's my fourth turn. I've been presenting with the FSCI, with the help of FSCI for last I think 1.5 years. So it's a very, very important topic. It's not a presentation for any product promotion. It's related to the safety of mine safety, my loved ones, my family, the society at a larger scale, the country and the university. So first of all, anybody should not fall on evil days due to the fire accident. First of all, I pray and start with. So let's have a quick look to set the context. First of all, we need to go through the what is happening in the country in last 15 or 20 years, which should not go very in the very old days. So we we can recall the Bahar cinema in Delhi a way back, and to the latest one in the Vijay Vallabh Hospital, 2002 in Mumbai during the COVID. All the incidents happened in India. It's very critical, and there's a lot of pain in the heart for everyone. What report says? I'm just taking the reference of one FICCI Pinkerton survey, which says the fire hazards comes to the fourth category. If we just talk about the overall, there's many problems in the society, but fire is still present on the top scale. And if we just go to the categories in the fire, the electrical short circuits is on the top. So it seems that the fire due to the short circuit needs to be addressed properly by the technical and the commercial committees in the India. So that's why regularly when I presented to BIS and the CEA, Ministry of Power, last year in Delhi, and we requested them to just make some mandatory norms so that the true selection of the cables can be done while the big buildings are coming up, high rise and other important buildings, wherever the human life is involved. So there's so many reasons for the faults: faulty electrical circuits, flammable materials, inadequate training of the staff, and the negligence also in some major cases. Now, let's look at the scenario in the light of the NBC 2016. It was the ultimation of the effort which has been going right from the 2000 and 2005. We have one more addition, and finally they completed in 2016. It says there are 4 pillars to maintain the building code, that is regulatory norms, administrative provisions, general building requirements, and the fire safety. We should note that the fire, even in the 4 major section, fire find its place. So it's very important. So part 4 of the NBC, it deliberates on the provisions, the demarcation of fire zones, restriction on construction of buildings in each fire zone, and other restriction and requirement necessary to minimize danger to life from fire, smoke, fumes before the buildings can be evacuated. And one more thing, which is very important, the selection of the critical materials, fire retardant rated materials, progressive evacuation plans, fire access panels, and clear signage system, and judicial uses of the manpower and the support system. So as a summary, I just take it, NBC emphasized on need of the hour, selection of proper equipment and material, proper evacuation planning, and assured safety of human life. So I'm just taking one reference from the discussion held in Delhi years back. What expert revealed that time, with due implementation of all the regulatory bodies and their guidelines, copper conductors cable should be used on the first preference in installations wherever human lives involved. It means human life means where we are sitting, where we are working, and the human is involved everywhere. So it must be a critical situation if the evacuation is not there. This is the problem, and these are the working and the suggestions from the many discussions. Then what is the solution we have in our hands to go for the right material? So after the research and development for many years, I have been the part of that also many times, because everybody is just trying to give the best to the society and the nation. So at large, we come up with some perfect solutions for the FS cables, and we remarked it as the IGNIS. So I just, in totality, the time is very limited. So I just take what are the IGNIS? What is IGNIS? IGNIS, the cable which can survive the fire. And then what else? In the video, we noted that the mortality, or you can say the death of the people happens due to the inhalation of the halogens only. So that's what the proper selection of the material is there in the IGNIS. There is no halogenetic materials. So low smoke, zero halogen is used right from the beginning to the top. What are the few characteristics and the advantages of these cables? The enhanced fire resistance, which protects the electrical circuit from fire. And if we take the reference of the technologies present world over, there is a maximum rating available, that's 950 degrees centigrade for 3 hours, which is the calculated community decision that 3 hours is sufficient to evacuate the tallest building in the New York. Because see, we are still following the USA and the UK norms, but still after so many efforts, last year in 2021, I was also the member of that society. We have developed Indian Standard 17505 Part 1. And it was such a marvelously, you can say that it's a perfection oriented specification. And it's the need of the time that society should go for that. Still, the BIS started the licensing and the enrollment process, then it will take a year time more for this. So fire resistance, the long-term circuit integrity, low smoke and toxic gases emission is very less in this. Flame retardancy, zero halogen, easy and low cost installation. There's nothing especially required to install these cables. Easy to implement in the circuits. If your existing circuit is there, you want to just do the enhancement or the rectification of the circuit, you can put the FS cable. There's no issue. So few features and advantages: the circuit integrity used in the critical highest safety establishments and the railway tunnels, typically used in the fire alarm systems, emergency lightings, critical circuits, and other safety equipments. Doesn't produce the noxious smoke, propagation flames, and the fumes which hinders firefighting and the endangers life. So let's come quickly to the construction of the cables. These are purely the copper cables. Either we refer the Indian standard or the British standards. These are the copper cables. So one heat barrier is there, which is high graded mica tapes. And especially insulation, there's so many variants available, either EPR or the XLP, or we can go with the silicone also sometimes. And the inner sheathing and the outer sheathing with the zero halogen compounds. And these come up with the round wire armor only. So after analyzing this construction, it is evident that these are not mechanically, but the electrically strong cables. Because you can see there's so many stages are available, and producing these cables is not so easy for any manufacturer. So these are the few specification which has been going on still date, and I'm hopeful that by the next time I will be adding the IS 17505 part 1 also here, that the BIS can just enforce that to the core bottom. So here you can see the 3D diagram, the copper, mica, then insulation, then again added protection level, and then padding, armoring, mechanical protection, and you can see the short circuits. And this is the taping, and then so these are similar which I told you. So just one the major difference, because if I join one common discussion on the industrial platform, there are so many voices. Sir, hum bhi banate hain FS cable, but there's so many differences. What type of the materials being used to produce these cables, and what is the assured sustainability against the higher temperature? If I just go to the blue cone of the fire, it is crossing the 930. Then the cable, I cannot assure that it will not touch the blue cone. Must be designed around 1000. So we are using the muscovite here. You can see the high graded mica. So there's a graded difference always in the properties. So these are the few guidelines which are have been used since the last 4 or 5 decades in the industry. For standard installation, people are going with the standard flame retardancy cables. And for installation in the non-hazardous industries, FR is being used. For installation in where the human surroundings are there, or the added chemical, or you can say the oil resistance are required, FRLSH being used. And for hospitals, railways, metros, or the critical zones, the LSZs are being preferred, right from the UK to India. And still, the last point which we should add here, the FS cables or the IGNIS are mandatory to use where the circuit integrity of the importance in case of fire. Those are used mainly along with the fire alarm systems, elevators, lightning system, and metro railways, airports, high rises, mines, and other critical buildings. So let's see what the NBC reveals in the recent publication. This is the fire pumps, pressurizer and smoke venting, fireman's lift, exit signages, the emergency lighting, fire alarm, and the PA system, and lighting in the fire command centers should be given with the FS only. These are the old guidelines. Let's look at what the Indian Standard 17505 says. It elaborates in detail, because at that time I recall that discussion we were discussing in the technical committee before releasing this, that we should write clearly what type of the FS cables are required in what vent and what areas. So we have minutely and correctly defined everything, that how much rating, how much temperature, and how much period is required to survive these cables. So these are the all 11 points mentioned here. So I just want to put a light on the R&D requirement of R&D and the material differences in the cables. See, some compounds in the case of fire, they support fire, means they increase heat, and some they decrease the heat, the endothermic and exothermic. So mica tape application in Ignis is it's an outcome of the many trials and the research and development also. I'm repeating again and again on this. So till date, I got one discussion with the certification body. They have launched their center in the Dubai. So the charges are this. They said, "Sir, अब charges कम है, अब अपन यहाँ करा सकते." But still, the LPCB and the CPR, they're charging very high rate, and all Indians cannot afford for all the installations. So that's why we are raising the voice that there should be some internal specification also and the certification process on this. So at Polycab, we are certified with the LPCB and the CPR also, and we are the NABL accredited lab, and with more than 4,000 testing standard scopes. CPR, sorry, Lpcb is also there. Due to the limitation of the time, I tried to complete it by 16:26. So thank you so much. If any questions are there, you are mostly welcome in the last stage of the program. So I will be there. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Bharat. Okay, I would urge our all delegates, when they go back to maybe the home or offices, okay, just Google on fire survival cable. What is the definition? And also would like them to go through the fire safety part in NBC, part 4, where all these electrical installations and the fire pump or maybe the emergency equipment for any other building, it is specified. It says at one point, it says that it is desirable to have, these cables. And then at one place, it says that it is mandatory or must have these cables. Okay, so please go through it. I would say, Harsha, is there a video to play now, or we will switch
No,
over
we played it, sir. Done.
Okay, so now we come to another interesting part of the webinar, a panel discussion. And to host that panel discussion, I would like to call upon our Chintu Bhai. Chintu Bhai doesn't need any introduction, I'm sure. Okay, but still, I would say he's our ex-president, FSI Mumbai. He's well-known, professional in our fire industry, and wherever we want to make an interesting program, okay, we look after him as a host or maybe the program host or panelist host. So Chintu Bhai, over to you.
Thank you, Rupesh sir, for a lovely introduction, and thank you Polycab and Bharatji for the lovely insights on fire survival cable. I would urge all the participants to put in all their question and answers in the Q&A section. So I would like to invite our panelists. So our first panelist is Mr. Vinod Kapse. He is a lead consultant from Kapse Consultants. Sir also doesn't need any introduction. Welcome, sir, to the panel. Glad to have you here, sir. Our other panelist is Ms. Sheetal Bilkar, Director of Urja Building Services Consultants. She's an ACE MEP consultant, founder and director at UBSC. UBSC started with a she started this with a three-month baby in her arms and has taken UBSC to a leading MEP consulting company with over 500 plus projects and 85 million square feet of work done worldwide. Welcome, and we are proud to have you here. In fact, we've just concluded so a few days back Women's Day, and really proud to have you here, ma'am. And our third panelist is Mr. Debajyoti Mukherjee, Vice President, Technical Marketing, Polycab. He has BTech and BSc honors. The skills are wire and cable technology, different electrical applications of copper conductors, a wide experience as Vice President, Polycab Wires Private Limited since Jan 2014, and Deputy General Manager with LAP India from June 2010 to 2013. Welcome, Mukherjee ji, to the panelists. So, the first question to our panelists, what I would like to ask is, typically, whatever fires that we have come across, untoward incidents, the culprit, जैसे हम पहले के जो न्यूज़ देखते थे और बोलते थे कि बाहर इस आतंकवादी हमले में बाहर की शक्तियों का हाथ है, वैसे the culprit is electric fire or short circuit. So how do we eliminate, and how would fire survival cable help in eliminating this? I would like to put this question to Mr. Mukherjee, if you could put some light on this.
Mr. Mukherjee, you're on mute.
Yeah. Can you hear me? Is it audible?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So fire survival cable is a very good invention, and it serves a lot of industries, and it gives a solution for different, basically for safety and function. So if you see fire survival cable, so these, as Mr. Bharat already explained, so it can work 950 degrees centigrade for 3 hours. So it gives a it can give a good help to the human being for wherever there is a high fire situation. It can evacuate people from the high-rise building, and it can help to shift the costly instrument to aside, and people can benefit out of this. So the severity has gone down with this, because as you know, wherever there is a high fire situation, there is a culprit is short circuit. So this short circuit can be avoided with the fire survival cable, and industry and even the domestic people can get very good help with this product.
Okay. Now, when you say this, what are the kind of tests? When you say it is LPCB, I just saw it in the presentation that it is LPCB approved, and also this cable can survive up to 950 degrees for 3 hours. So what are the kind of lab tests that is being done to make sure that these cable are really fire survival cables? And why 3 hours? Why not 2 hours, or why not 4 hours, sir?
So, well, there are several tests for this cable, and there are several fire tests also. But out of this, most important test is circuit integrity test. So circuit integrity test will give you the result whether you can use this product or this cable into a very high fire situation. There are different categories in this test, and that depends how customer requires, because customer has a selection for the choice based on the application. So if it is a very high-rise building and cable goes from bottom to top, so normally people ask for a cable where the circuit integrity test is codified as CWZ.
Okay.
Okay. So now your second question is why it is not 4 hours. So if you see, Mr. Bharat explained that there is a heat barrier in the cable. There is a heat barrier layer in the cable. So when if it is a high fire situation, the heat is continuously developing, and the heat is developing, at least it is coming at the end, let us say 1000 degrees centigrade. And at this 1000 degrees centigrade, this heat barrier, which is basically glass mica tape, can withstand up to 3 hours. And after these 3 hours, this heat barrier has lost its properties. So after losing this property, then there is a chance of short circuit between the conductor. But Polycab gives guarantee, or this kind of cable, when it passes or it meets this requirement 950 degree 3 hours. So definitely it will pass 3 hours, but it can go up to 3.5 hours also, but we do not give the guarantee.
Okay. Okay. So my other question to Mr. Vinod Kapse. So when, sir, as a consultant, probably Sheetal ma'am, you could also throw some light on this post Vinod sir. So, in the tenders, it is always, we come across that, the fire alarm or any system, emergency system, it has to be either, the equipments have to be UL listed, or they have to be FM approved or VDS approved. But the cable, always predominantly what is seen, it is 2-core 1.5 square mm copper armored cable as per IS standard and red color, which is marked in red. So if you could throw some light on this, what is the difference between why only FRLS and why not when do we start using fire survival cables, and what is the global what is the norm for the emergency circuits?
Sheetal, you want to take this, or you want me to continue?
Sir, I would like you to throw some light, and then maybe Sheetal ma'am could also speak on this.
Sure. Thank you, Sheetal. Thank you for the question. Basically, whether you build tunnels, metros, or offices or plants, structures require continuity of critical life safety circuits from a reliable supply of power to these emergency equipment. So emergency equipment, when we say, is fire alarm, maybe your emergency lighting systems, your emergency signages, evacuation signages, elevators, critical elevators for high-rise towers, fire pumps which should operate, and backup generators, pressurization systems, smoke control systems. So basically, these systems are supposed, the functions of the system which is supposed to work after a fire or during a fire has to get supply. So my recommendation strongly would be to use a fire integrity cable for these particular systems, as these systems continue operation during a fire, and this is critical for the safety of building, critical for building evacuation, and critical even for the firefighting operations. If the firefighter wants to go on a floor and operate an hydrant on the floor, because if you have buildings more than now, we are having buildings close to 300 meters in Mumbai and other parts. So an external fire support or an external fire ladder is maximum available is up to 90 meters today. So in case there is a fire beyond 90 meters in a 275-meter building, the only possible is to take a lift which is backed up by emergency power, go to that floor, nearest floor, and use an hydrant there to suppress that fire. So you need lift to go up, you need the fire pump to be working. So all these critical systems need to have proper support of power. Hence, the cables is one important aspect of transmitting power from the main distribution place to the to the end point. So circuit integrated cable which can withstand fire at 950 degrees for 3 hours or 2 hours based on the criticality of the application is mandated to be used. That's what is my part.
So I would like to add here. So as a consultants, actually we design our ultimate customers are developers, or the client which we for whom we are working. But our ultimate customers are the human beings who are going to occupy that spaces. So as a consultant, we have to be very particular about what we are designing. So when we are designing, we are definitely trying to use products like fire survival cables for fire emergency circuits. But at the same time, cost is always a problem. So as a consultant, even if we are specifying such products, we spoke a lot about fire survival cables now. Polycab people also spoke, Vinod sir spoke about it. But then it comes to cost also. So unless all these things becomes mandatory, like it comes in fire NOC that we have to use fire survival cables, it is not going to be implemented. Even if as a consultant we are going to write in our specification fire survival cables, smartly contractors and developers are going to change that again, unless it is becoming mandatory, So my point is, we definitely as a consultants recommend such products, but definitely we need support from fire department also to make this more mandatory.
And now recently, Chintu, is that a new IS code, which of course Polycab presented, but the new IS code, I would like to add everybody's attention to the new IS code, that is IS 17505.
505, yes.
Yes, for 17505 for the fire survival cable has been already enforced, which was published and circulated in May 2021, if I'm not wrong. So that particular code specifically talks about fire survival cable, and it has been very clearly specified in terms of construction what you want to have. It's a thermosetting plastic cables. It has very categorically mentioned the conductor, the mica insulation over it, which is a heat barrier, and then an XLP, that is cross-linked polyethylene insulation over it, and then a fiberglass tape has also been recommended, and over that the normal ZHFR or LSZH insulation. So the construction has been very clearly defined, and it's the thicknesses have been increased. Of course, the format is same as 1550, but I think it's very clearly mentioned, and they have also mentioned areas and applications where you need to use these cables. So that becomes a mandate for us now. And unlike NBC before, where as Mr. Untitled said, that at places they mention recommendation, at places they mention mandatory. So now as the code is out, the highest standard is out, you can pick up from the standard because they have mentioned applications as well. The fire alarm, PA system, public address, forms and everything. So I think that's a good start, and that IS code has to be followed even by consultants and building owners, so that you try to pick up to use that cables in those specific applications. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheetal ma'am. Thank you, Vinod sir. So coming again as to what Sheetal ma'am said, that collectively it is our responsibility that as consultants, I mean, it is not only the right size of the cable, right type of it is also important to have the right type of the cable, and it is collectively our responsibility. But at the end of the day, as you said, the real world says everything boils down to the price. So what could be, Mukherjee sir, what would be, I mean, nothing to catch you, but what would be the impact, commercial impact of using a normal cable, then a fire survival cable? I mean, if we see the project cost, so in terms of safety, it is hardly 5% of the entire project. So cable, probably using an FR-less cable to a fire survival cable for this entire, emergency circuitry, circuits, what would be an approximate percentage investment, I would say, and I would not, as an industry, guardian, I would say investment and not the expenditure. What would that be like?
Yeah, well, so first thing I should say that you cannot compromise safety against the cost.
Absolutely.
Okay. So when you want to make a building or any good kind of setup, so you have to little bit keep the cost aside and concentrate on a material which will give you the life and safety and the good performance. So if you use normal cable in place of fire savable cable, there is a huge impact on this, because normal cable, let us say there is a high fire situation in a building. Okay, so in a normal cable, let us say if you use FRLS cable, fire retardant low smoke cable, so the low smoke cable will work in certain extent. Okay, so you just concentrate on the word fire retardant. It will prevent fire up to certain level. After this level, this cable can burn. And when it will burn, it will give some toxic gases. Not much, not as a normal cable, but normal cable will give a very high toxic gases. Then it will give a good high flame. Then what will happen throughout the area? So it will be smoky. So in case of normal cable, throughout the area, it will be smoky. People cannot move, people cannot see, and people will inhale smoke, and then they will die over there or maybe senseless. Many cases, it has happened that firefighters went up to the floor, and because of the toxic gases, they could not fight with the fire. So I will tell you one example is that in 2009 or 2011, I think Mr. Bharat had shown. So there is a hospital in Amri in Calcutta. The name of the hospital is Amri. So there is a very high fire situation, and in that fire situation, 90 patients died, and 90 out of 90, 85 patients died because of the obnoxious odor and toxicity of the cable, or many different items. But majorly cable produces a lot of toxic gases. So with these gases, they have died. There is no fire marking or no fire symbol in their body. So this is the kind of problem with the normal cable. So if you use fire savable cable, at least this kind of situation can be prevented. So that's why I'm saying you cable is a 5% of your project, but it is the backbone of your project. If you cannot take care of your backbone, so your project will be shaky.
I agree with you. I am totally in sync and approval of what you have said, Mukherjee.
I'm sorry that Madam Shital, I'm requesting you, please concentrate on the product. Please do not involve cost here.
No, what you are taking me wrong. What I said is, as a consultant, we concentrate on product and we specify right products. But when it comes to implementation, definitely we are not going to pay from our pockets. It is developers who are going to pay for it. And so definitely when it goes to their purchase department, sometimes they take decisions and where we can't interfere.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Right. So from this, my next question to Kapse sir is, sir, what is the mention on, NBC 2016 Chapter 4? There is a mention of fire survival cables. Do you feel that there is a need for amendment or, a strong line there to be amended where, this comes into force and we don't lose many people, to the accidents of probably, just using not using the right kind of cable. You're on mute, sir.
Thank you, Chintu. Basically, there is an emergency power for fire and life safety systems clause in National Building Code, which is 3.4.6.2, if I remember it right, where they have mentioned the list of products or list of services where a circuit integrity cable has to be used. Unfortunately, the words fire survival is not there, but it has definitely it definitely mentions the circuit integrity cable. Now, technically speaking, all cables should maintain circuit integrity, okay? But circuit integrity under what condition is not mentioned. So I think we should go back to relevant. Of course, NBC is just a document which says what to do. However, how to do it, you always has to refer relevant IS codes. So today, IS 17505 being out, I think that question of doubt should not arise in your minds, because IS is also given in Annexure A, if I'm not wrong, what cables are to be used at what degrees and what temperatures and what rating and how many hours for specific services like fire alarm or pump house or thing. So I think now the circle is complete, and instead of reading between the lines and finding what is not there, we need to more look at the spirit of the document and try to give whatever is relevant. That's what I feel.
So I would like to add here, Chintuji, the clause in NBC talks about not even circuit integrity, it talks about fireproof enclosure or circuit integrity cable. So it is not at all clear, you know. So it's quite confusing for everyone.
Yeah, and unfortunately, what happens, Sheetal ma'am, is when I had taken up my training on NFPA 72 and 13 code, clearly, you know, the trainer said, you cannot buy heart this book. I mean, this is like your whatever religion that you believe in. This is like your holy book. Whatever religion, I mean, it could be the Holy Quran or the Bhagavad Gita or the Guru Granth Sahib. You open any page and you have the answers. But the problem with us is, you know, we and I have also done that. I will be very honest in front of, you know, all the participants and all the eminent panelists over here. And I would have gone to sir also. Sir, ये देखो यहाँ पे लिखा है कि ये fitting use हो सकता है, और you know this can be used. But then उसके पीछे वो पढ़ने को नहीं आता था. But when we came to know how to read that book, you know, there is if there is an asterisk, then you go to the appendix. You can use this only under this condition, so and so condition. So many people, I mean, you know, we open up the books and we say we only read that one verse, but we don't read under what condition. So it is very important. I take this platform to you know, just share what I had also learned. How to read that book properly is very important.
Yeah, to add that to Chintu, now if you take this classic example as what Sheetal said, that it is written that the fire and life safety systems above shall be through a fire enclosure or a circuit integrity cable. If you ask me to read it, I will say either you take it from a fire enclosure, or if you are not taking it to a fire enclosure, then you ensure your cable is fire circuit integrity. Okay, that word fire is not there, but that's how I can read it. But somebody else may read it differently. They may say that it's only circuit integrity. The fire is not written there. So that's how you interpret it. That's the game. That's the game of way the codes are there in India and the language is used.
And the funny part of it is, you know, you would be right in interpreting that. We as a system integrator would be right in interpreting that. And when the AJ comes, when the fire officer comes, he would say, I want this cable, fire survival cable, and it should be in that enclosure. People, the entire project goes for a toss.
Absolutely.
So, Chintuji, I will add on this, as Mr. Kapse and Sheetal Madam is saying, the missing term is that circuit integrity in any abnormal operating condition. So this abnormal operating condition is missing. So I think if we add this, or if we force them to add this, so I think meaning will be clear to everybody.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And we have quite a few interesting questions also here from many participants. So there is one question from Mr. Amit Chiller, who says, does NBC give reference of the IS standard of the cable selection? So
absolutely. And NBC is a document. It's like a IBC. It's like an International Building Code, or it's like NFPA 101, which says what is required. But for anything, when you say where it is required, it always says floor dash. It gives a reference of the relevant IS code, and relevant IS codes are listed in the last 5-6 pages of NBC. So you need always to refer to a IS code. If NBC says you need to do a sprinkler system, how to do a sprinkler system? Of course, you have to refer an IS code to do a sprinkler system. That's understood. That's standard. You did not even ask that question.
Okay. Then there is one question from Mr. Anil Surendran. So thank you, Anil. Anil is from Dubai, and thank you. I will just read it out. Your presentation was very good. My doubt is that in the presentation it was mentioned that enhanced cable. What is the BA standard for enhanced fire resistant cable compared to general fire resistance cable BS7846, and how many are circuitry integrity for the enhanced cable is required?
Enhanced requirement is as per EN 50200. Sorry, Devashi, if you can take that, I'm good. EN 50200 is for enhanced requirement. I think Devashi will take the balance.
Yeah, as you, Mr. Vinod is rightly said, BSEN 50200 enhanced requirement is there, but still they are saying fire with water, but that is below 20 mm diameter of cable. When it is exceed 20 mm, so then you'll have to go for the another standard. But apart from this, there is no much extended specification by BS is there. But many industries are doing a lot of R&D, even Polycab is also doing. And there are new product also we brought it, recently launched. It's called ceramified silicon rubber fire survivable cable, which can give little bit enhanced performance rather than normal cable. So it's possible. But again, I'll say that restriction is there in BS 6387 and BS EN 50200.
Okay. So there was one more question from Mr. Sharath. Does NBC endorse aluminum conductors for fire survival cables? And Vinod sir has said no. So if you could throw some light, and all the other 100 people would get benefit of.
Yeah, basically, when you say fire survival, and you expect the cable to withstand 950 degrees as per the ASTM E119 curve, where you have time temperature curve, then aluminium as such, as its basic virtue, doesn't will melt at about 600 or 650 degrees, whereas copper can go up to 1100 degrees. As far as thermal conductivity and electrical conductivity is concerned, both are almost same. So copper is more recommended for FS because it's supposed to work at 950 degrees. In a normal cable, the acceptance of conductor temperature in a normal cable, in normal scenario, is 90 degrees, if I'm not wrong, in a normal condition, and in a short circuit is 250 degrees. But if the same cable is in a normal, this is normal condition, 250 degrees. So if the same cable is exposed to 950 degrees temperature, and copper and aluminum both being highly thermally conductive, then the cable will distribute the temperature all across. Even at the fire point, there is a temperature of 900 or 950 degrees. Hence, copper should be the choice in case you are going for FS. That's my understanding.
And there is one more interesting question from Mr. Vinayak Joglekar, just to add to this. What is the recommendation for the glands? Because without proper glands, the cables would not be installed properly, and that could be a case of short circuit.
Yeah, you use a double compression glands. That's what is the standard you can use. But forget about the glands. My thought process in this entire subject is that assume you're using a fire survival cable for a fire detection system, okay? And then you have detectors connected on the cable. Assume there is no false ceiling and there is the direct roof. And you're connecting this cable, and there is a detector in between, and the cable continues to the next detector. And there is a fire right below the detector. The detector burns. Let us assume the detector burns. It's going to burn at 950 degrees, right? If the detector burns, are the terminals of the detector capable to continue to maintain the circuit integrity? Are the equipment that you are using will continue the circuit even if that particular equipment of the system fails? This is a big question I always have. So when you do this, normally you need to take this cable to a junction box and then a fire resistive junction box, put the cable inside junction box, maintain circuit continuity, and then bring a cable down and connect a detector. Okay. So my question always in my mind is whether if a detector burns in a circuit, the cable is fire survivable on both sides. But what if the detector burns and it collapses? Will the circuit integrity maintain? There is no point using a circuit integrity cable if the detector burns and it snaps off the circuit. Correct? So that's point of thinking, and I'm thinking in these lines, and we are finding solutions to it.
Lovely, lovely, sir. So there is one more question from Mr. Karandeep Singh. So he says his question is, can you please clear the pricing difference between FRLS cables and fire survival cables? I mean, pricing is something which you can take it offline, but yes, what would, I mean, you have seen the presentation. This can take up to 950 degrees and it is as per the IS 17505 standard. I think your question to a greater extent is answered, Karandeep ji, and we have.
It is almost double. You can tell them it's almost double. The normal FRLS armored cable would be about 50-55 rupees, and this cable would not come less than 120-130 rupees. I think that's where.
Chintu bhai.
Yes.
There's one initial question by Ullas Vajre.
Yes, I'm taking that.
I think Sheetal madam and Mr. Mukherjee can basically put a light on it.
Yes. So in the hazardous areas, apart from circuit integrity, low capacitance cables are recommended. So the question is how low capacitance is achieved in control and power cables, and what is the technology which is used?
I think Mr. Mukherjee, you take, it is about a cable technology, you should take up this question.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. So this low capacitance cable is possible, and there is another BS specification, which is BS 7629. So there all instrumentation cable, screen control cable are recommended, and same testing of circuit integrity is possible on this. So people can refer this specification and go for the product.
Okay.
There's one more question, Chintu bhai, last. Joglekar ji has asked. See in question answer.
Yeah. So any material used in fire survival cable which is hygroscopic. I don't know what that means, honestly.
Yeah, I'll take this question.
Please.
Hygroscopic, yeah, means it is absorbing water or not. So if you see polymers basically, most of the polymers are hygroscopic. So if you keep it in open atmosphere, it will absorb moisture and create problem. So while manufacturing, we remove the water and then make it. And if it is a hygroscopic, also there is a problem of leakage current also. So on this point of view, so maybe question is asked. So it is possible to remove all this hygroscopic or moisture, everything, and there's a perfect product can be prepared.
Okay, then we have a few more questions here. Let me check. Rupesh sir, we have some time?
Yeah, we have time. Okay, so there are another two questions, I suppose.
Yes. Which is the relevant Indian standard for fire alarm cables for signal application? And does Polycab have Lpcb for such cables also? And what is the possibility or method to make fire survival joint?
Yeah, today the standard is IS 17505. Just follow IS 17505. That's the standard you need to follow for fire alarm.
I'll add with this, Mr. Chintu. So fire alarm cable is not necessarily every time it will be fire survivable. So it is a customer choice. Fire alarm cable can be made fire circuit integrity or fire survivable or may not. So many customers ask for fire alarm cable without fire survivable properties. So that can be supplied, and that is Polycab is supplying. And supplying is also, there are two kinds. One is customized specification and another is BACN 50288. So these two specification we are Polycab is supplying. But if customer has a choice that fire alarm cable will be fire survivable, is possible to supply. So available in the product list.
Okay. So there is one question from Mr. Nayan Joshi. What is the possibility or method to make fire survival joint? To my knowledge, in any emergency circuitry, as a practice, any joints are not allowed. If Sheetal ma'am and Vinod sir, if you could throw some light on this.
Yeah, that's what I said just now. The point is about getting the entire circuit integrity even if the equipment burns. So any device that you try to use in between the cable and its continuity has to survive that particular temperature and rating. As Chintu rightly said, today we don't we don't require a joint in the cable in a fire alarm cable. So the joints are only at the terminal points, that are wherever you terminate your sounders, wherever you terminate your detectors. So between two detectors, if you want to make a joint, I think that's not the right way to do it. You not do it. But today, I think companies like Polycab should come up with a solution for longer distances. If we want to make a joint and it's a retrofit application and you're supposed to make a joint and already laid the cable, cannot lay a new cable, then they should come with a jointer which can withstand that particular temperature and rating. That's all.
Okay. So I think most of the questions are answered. Any other applications, Sheetal ma'am, you feel that, where fire survival cables could be used apart from whatever mentioned in the presentation?
So I think fire safety, we already spoke about hospitals, tunnels, and all this application. Definitely we can use this fire survival cables.
And I think if there are not much questions, Rupesh sir, with your kind permission, I would like to sum up this discussion. Rupesh
Mr. Chintu, Mr. Chintu, I will add to Madam Sheetal is that this cable can be also used for heat resistant application. So there are a lot of places where heat resistance is required. So this cable can be used over there because it has a good heat barrier. As if you see all Indian warships, even foreign warships, naval service is 100% using this cable, even there is a fire prone area or not, but there is a heat prone area is there. So this is my addition on this.
Yeah, I think to add to this, even high heat application like furnaces, where we have done one float glass plant. So probably near the furnace, it gets very difficult even for a normal under normal circumstances for a person to stand, and you have lot many electricals going there. So possibly there also, probably such kind of applications this could be used.
Exactly. Even for this kind of application, we have another TDS cable which can go up to 200 degree or 230 degree application is possible, continuous. So there is a different heat barrier system is there. So Polycab had developed this kind of cable, so can be applied.
One needs to understand that these cables, the cables that are specified in the new IS code, are only for a specific period of time. You cannot use these cables where there is a continuous exposure of specific temperature on a normal time. It's only for a specific period of time, and during that time only it's going to withstand. Beyond it, it's going to anyway give up. So that needs to be in consideration whenever you select these cables.
Yeah, you're right. Because this cable is basically for fire survivable and circuit integrity in high fire situation. So that is a very specific time as limited. So is correct.
So, probably you know that 2-hour rating possibly would have come up, Kapse sir, from Sheetal ma'am, from you know, in a building also you have 2-hour fire rated doors. So at least when you know to evacuate, I mean that would be the primary reason, that you know within 2 hours you need to evacuate all the people and safely, and probably that 2 hours would have come up. When I asked the question, probably I did not realize, but while you know we were discussing, I just realized, because yeah, 2 hours ka jo hai, why not 3 and why not 2? Why not
No, no,
1?
it is a Mr. Chintu, this is a 3 hours. So
3
this
hours,
cable
okay.
will give you time 3 hours. And
Oh, lovely.
additionally, this cable, even if it burns, this will not throw any smoke and it will not throw any toxic gases, so that the people will be safely evacuated from high-rise building. Even fire safety lift is also can be operated within 3 hours.
Okay, okay. So summing everything up, you know, there is a need for manufacturers like Polycab to you know, innovate and you know, come up with good products which are relevant, which are to the benefit of the mankind. Fundamental, you know, these applications, I mean, where people, you know, consultants, you know, Sheetal ma'am, you and Kapse sir, specifying such things for application specific, you know, wherever such kind of applications are there, right kind of, you know, suggestions in terms of whenever you specify, and as integrators, our duty to use the right kind of you know, materials and right kind of installations, and again the departments to you know, do their tests and do their inspections in a rightful way, to make sure that you know, we create a safer world together. So it is our collective duty. Over to you, Rupesh sir.
Thank you, Chintu bhai. Okay, I think before I start my vote of thanks, there's one announcement we need to make, right? So, you know, first week of March, there was a big event, PAC 2022. And to all members who have joined here, okay, we are glad to announce that Mumbai chapter had won the Best Chapter Award, right? So this is a award. It may not be visible, okay. But we got Best Chapter Award. Our Urvashi madam got a Best Employee and, you know, Special Contribution Award for, you know, PAC event. So this is possible just because of all members, all CWC team, you know, team's contribution towards chapter activities. So for the vote of thanks, I would, you know, thank Kapse sir, Sheetal madam, okay, for taking out time from their busy schedule, okay, and accepting this invitation to be as a panelist on this webinar. Mr. Mukherjee to join as a, you know, representative from Polycab and putting up some light on the latest product development, and Chintu bhai for hosting this. Okay, with I mean, you are our, you know, sort of an what do you call one-man show in our cricket team. No, you are our Sachin Tendulkar. While so
but
you.
I also have Virat Kohli and you know, Sehwag and all to hit the sixers and take all the bouncers, okay, from whatever comes.
Right. So thank you all delegates for joining in on a working day. You know, I was very I was nervous, you know, on Wednesday afternoon, 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock. Okay, I told Polycab team also that, you know, our general attendance is somewhere around 200 and 250, but on Wednesday we are a little doubtful. But still there were almost around, say, 90 to 100 delegates joined on this webinar. As I said, this would be one of the last online webinar that we will be conducting. Most of the things would now switch over to in-person or physical events. So I would request all to join there also in big numbers. Okay. Thank you all. Thank you, Harsha, for hosting this. Thank you, Urvashi. And thank you, Mr. Bharat, for a wonderful presentation.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.